Our lives are complex things. As we go about our lives, this manifests itself as chaos. We have so many choices to make and places to be. The world seems to pass us by. It's a wonder we keep anything straight. Our minds were never meant to handle this complexity. In a way, you could say that we cope with shortcuts, explaining away things or commenting about who we are. Staying sane among the chaos seems to be our main goal. The world is colliding with itself everywhere we turn. So many things happen with all that information flowing to us. Anything we want to know can be accessed within seconds. Events creating new events that create new events. We try to keep up, but in the end, we will take in more than we will ever know. Our minds go to work while we sleep to decode it all, only to be bombarded again first thing in the morning. It always seems what was learned yesterday is out of date today. We overload ourselves to exhaustion living in our world, yet we constantly tell ourselves we should be doing more. Our lives are a mess because we tell ourselves to do impossible tasks. It is simple. We must manage the complexity. We do this by creating systems that handle the complexity for us. A system of our design in which we could set its aims. Knowing you need to implement a system is much different from creating one. First, we need to understand the purpose of our systems. The primary purpose of a system is to manage complexity. That means if the system makes your life more complicated, or if it's too cumbersome to implement, then it is useless. Now we come to thinking of a new system. This starts with identifying an area of your life where you're having issues. See if there is a larger theme present that's causing these issues. Then identify what the end behavior of the system should promote. For example, I have an issue of deciding when I should be doing something myself or spending money to have somebody else do it for me. While this may look like an issue that only occurs at certain times, it was really an issue of knowing the value of my resources. I wanted to be able to reliably know when I should spend my money and when I should spend my time. This is how I would go about creating a resource system to help manage the complexity of the resources I use. Doing this whenever you run into issues in your life will help you to see the complexity and look to manage it. This is how you create order in life, by creating systems that help make your life simpler. Some systems will affect your life more than others. These will be your cornerstone systems, and you'll want to pay more attention to them than the others. As you create more systems, you want to create systems to manage those systems. You go about this in the same way that you did when you're creating systems that they're made up of. This is the organization that is needed as you deal with your complex life. Managing the chaos will take work, as it's always changing. The systems will structurally stay the same over time, but you'll need to make tweaks along the way. Creating the system themselves is not that simple, however. This is where you'll really have to think about what you want out of life. Systems are simply thinking of formulas on how to handle situations. Ultimately, what your system looks like is completely up to you. Generally, creating a system has to do with handling the input. Using the example of the resource system, I found the similar qualities that resources would share. I then gave it a weight based on how much importance it should have in the system. After that, I added a multiplier to take into account the different amounts that the resources could come in. This was my formula for calculating which resources to use. Anytime I added a new resource, I just had to define its qualities and it could be compared. Not every system will look like this, as it's just an example. Once you do this, you should try and automate it, using whatever technology you have access to. Find a way to use tools or create some yourself to make things simpler. These systems are only good if you actually use it. This approach makes life simpler and more consistent. It helps you offload a lot of things that weren't helping you anyways. Everyone's will look different, but the end goal is still the same. to help you live a better life. This approach, as any other approach, has its own drawbacks. It can get you stuck doing the same thing over and over. You should also be mindful of its effect on you. If maintaining it is becoming too stressful, you should reevaluate whether you should use it. At the end of the day, you have to adjust this to fit your life. Thanks for watching. I hope you got something out of this, and remember to question everything, even this.